What's up, everybody? We're back to work on some problems for 1-1, exponents and order of operations. If you notice up in the top left corner, this is an I do, which means that you folks you can just kind of sit back and watch me go through each of these examples. You don't, since you guys are at home, you do not have to write these down. You can, but you're not required to. Once we get back in person, I'm probably going to have you fill this worksheet out as well, even though I'm just going to do them on the board. But while you guys are working from home, we're not going to worry about that. So I just simply want you to, kick back and watch me work out these 6 problems. And it's important that you pay attention and watch, though, because eventually I'm going to give you a worksheet going over these same type of problems, and I want to make sure that you guys know what you're doing and you can perform well on that. So very quick recap. Yesterday we talked about the order of operations, which is the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, that's why I have PE, MD, and AS written in red right in the middle of the screen here. So remember, P stands for parenthesis, E stands for exponents. Those are the first 2 things that you look at when you're given an expression. You're going to try to solve for those 2 things. The second things you will look for after parentheses and exponents is multiplication and division. So you will solve the multiplication and division portions of the expression next. And then finally, you're going to finish up with addition and subtraction. So once you've figured out all of the other operations, you're going to finish by finding any addition or subtraction portions. So let's start with number 1 and just kind of cruise through these 6 problems and go from there. So 6 minus 10 divided by 5. I notice right away there are no there's no parentheses or exponents, but there is multiplication and division. I see right between the 10 and the 5, there's a division symbol. So I know there may not be multiplication, but there's division, and that's the first thing that I need to solve is division with this problem. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. I'm going to drop the rest of my problem down. 6 minus 2 is 4. Simple as that. Okay, so there is no parenthesis, there is no exponent, there was no multiplication. The first thing we saw going through our order of operations was division. So we did division, 10 divided by 5, figured that out, and then we dropped the rest of the problem down and finished with subtraction, 6 minus 2. So final answer of 4. Okay, so let's go to the second problem, which you'll notice is a little bit different. First, it has an exponent, and then second, you'll notice it has some variables in there. So instead of having our expression with nothing but numbers, there's actually some letters in there. Nothing to freak out about, though. If you look directly above this problem, it tells you what C is, and it tells you what D is. So what I would suggest is just go through and plug those numbers in for the variable. So let's rewrite this problem. So C to the 4th, I see above there that C is actually worth 2. So we're going to have 2 to the 4th minus, notice up here, D is 5. So let's plug 5 in for D. And then we will subtract 2, finish out the problem. So we rewrote everything. And now let's go through our order of operations. First, is there a parenthesis? No, there is not. So, is there an exponent? Yes, there is. 2 to the 4th. So we need to figure out 2 to the 4th. And just like our notes said yesterday, and I actually think our notes was this exact problem, 2 to the 4th. Remember, 2 to the 4th means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And if you went through and did that, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. So I'm going to erase that just so it doesn't confuse you. We know that 2 to the 4th is 16. We'll write it directly below here. And then all we're going to do is drop the rest of the problem down, keeping our expression nice and organized. Okay, so we did our exponent is there multiplication or division? That's what we need to look for next. And there is not, because the only operations left in our problem is subtraction. So no multiplication, no division. There's also no addition. So the only thing left is two subtraction portions of this problem. So 16 minus 5 is 11. Drop the rest of the problem down. 11 minus 2 is 9. So your final answer for number 2 would be 9. Okay, moving on. Number 3. 3 times 6 minus 2 squared divided by 2. Okay? What I tend to do is kind of look at the problem as a whole and say, okay, there looks like what do we got? We have multiplication, subtraction. Oh, there's an exponent. And then also we have division. So a lot going on here, but let's just follow our steps. So do we have a parenthesis? No, we don't. Do we have an exponent? Absolutely. 4 to the second power, or 4 squared, is an exponent. So 4, here we go, 4 squared means 4 times 4, and I know that 4 times 4 is 16. I want to keep my problem nice and organized, so I'm going to drop everything down just the way it looks. Only thing different was solving for the exponent, and there we go. So now we have 3 times 6 minus 16 divided by 2. So we figured out our parenthesis. We've solved, or there wasn't one. We did our exponent. Now the next thing we need to do is multiplication and division. And lucky for us, we actually have one of each. So 3 times 6 is 18. And, right, 3 times 6 is 18. And then we have a division problem at the end of the expression, which is 16 divided by 2. 16 divided by 2 is going to give you 8. And then we can't forget about our subtraction. We need to drop that down. So 18 minus 8 is what we're left with. So the last steps in our order of operation is addition and subtraction. Obviously, there's no addition here, but there is subtraction. 18 minus 8 is going to give you 10. So your final answer for number 3 would be 10. Number 4, or our fourth example, is very similar to number 2 above. We have some variables to work with. So 2b divided by c plus 3a. And you'll notice the 2b is right next, those two are right next to each other, and there's not an operation between them. And then you also have the same thing for 3a. Whenever there is not an operation and you have like a number and a variable next to each other, assume that that is multiplication. So what this problem is actually saying is 2 times b, and then at the end of the problem where it says 3a, that actually says 3 times a. So let's rewrite our problem just so it's a little easier to work with, and we're going to do 2 times b. So I'm going to write 2. Next, that b we see above is worth 12, or is 12. So rather than writing the 12 next to it, like the b is above, that would look like 212, wouldn't it, if we just wrote a 12 there? So one thing that you can do is put a parenthesis around the 12. So 2 times 12, let's put a parenthesis around it. So we know that that number doesn't mean 212, it means 2 times 12 by using this parenthesis. Okay, so now we're going to do divided by c, and I see that above c is actually 2 plus 3a, and a is worth 5. And just like we did with 2 and 12, we're going to throw a parenthesis around that 5 just so that we're not confusing ourselves and thinking that that is 35 rather than 3 times 5. Okay, so I think we have this rewritten pretty well here. So 2 times 12 divided by 2 plus 3 times 5. Again, a bunch going on there, but let's not lose track of our order of operations. our order of operations would say we got to do our parentheses first, right? Well, there's no exponents. If you look through this, there's no exponents. But we did create some parentheses here. So let's solve those first. So 2 times 12 is going to be 24. And 3 times 5 is going to be 15. Then let's drop the rest of our problem down. Let's not forget about that. So 2 times 12 is 24 divided by 2 plus 15. Okay, so now we're left with division and addition. And we know that division comes before adding and subtracting. So we need to do 24 divided by 2, which gives you 12. And then finally, we're just going to drop the rest of this problem down. 12 plus 15 is 27. There you have it. 2 more, folks. Thanks for sticking with me here. Hopefully this is clicking a little bit. And just as I said in my last video, I want to assure all of you, if you don't understand it, if you still have questions, we're not going to breeze through this and be done like tomorrow. We got a few more days of continuing to work on this before you're actually assessed or given a quiz on how well you know it. So number 5, 10 plus 5 times 9 minus 4. But that 9 minus 4 is in a parenthesis. So if we think about our order of operations, the very first thing we need to do is look for parentheses, and we have one. 9 minus 4. 9 minus 4 is 5. Then we're going to drop everything else down to keep our problem nice and organized. Okay? 10 plus 5 times 5. 10 plus 5 times 5. 5 times, we know, so we figured out our parenthesis. There is no exponent in this problem. So the next thing we're going to look for is multiplication and division. And I very clearly see we have 5 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. Drop the rest of our problem down, 10 plus 25. And we are only left with one more operation, which is addition, which we know addition and subtraction, what you need to do last. So 10 plus 25, I can do this in my head, is 35. But if you need to figure this out and you want to write that problem and stack them, 0 plus 5 is 5, and 1 plus 3 is 35. However you can do it. If you feel comfortable doing that in your head like myself, or if you need to actually stack those and add them, that's fine too. But our final answer here is 35. And to finish up, number 6, 40 minus 2 times 3 to the second. Okay, let's think about our steps here, and we are going to look for parentheses first. There are none. We're going to look for exponents, and yes, there is. 3 to the second power is an exponent. And 3 to the second power, remember, does not mean 3 times 2. It means 3 times itself twice. So 3 times 3. And 3 times 3 is 9. We'll drop the rest of our problem down. 40 minus 2 times 9. We figured out that there is no parenthesis. We solved the exponent. Now we're moving on to multiplication and division, and I notice right away that 2 times 9 is going to be 18. And then I'm going to drop 40 with the subtraction symbol down, and we know that the very last step you're always going to want to do is either addition or subtraction, and in this case, it is subtraction. 40 minus 18. Okay? 0 minus 8, we cannot do that. 0 is smaller than 8. We can't subtract 8 from 0, so we are going to steal from 4. 4 is going to become a 3, and then we are going to add a 1 to the 0, making it 10. So 10 minus 8 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 2. Final answer here is 22. Thanks again for watching, everybody. I hope this made sense. And by all means, if you feel like even after seeing these 6 problems, you're struggling a little bit, feel free to shoot me an email, write a comment on Google Classroom. Just let me know, and I'd be glad to give you a little extra assistance. But I hope this makes sense, and have a great day.